Hey guys, this is Dad from Dad's Van. Welcome back to the channel. One of the cool things in RVs and vans is a table that allows the passengers to sit and play a game or share a meal. And I want to put one of those tables right here so that the driver and front passenger can swivel around and hang out with the two people sitting in the rear passenger seats. And what I've picked up for that is one of these Lagun table bases. These are super popular among RVers and van lifers. They're made out of really nice aluminum, lightweight, and they have a few different articulation axes that allow you to swivel them out as well as rotate the tabletop. They have some really nice locking mechanisms that you can tighten down. That allows you to raise and lower the table, as well as lock down the different articulation axes. So in order to put this in the van, the location that I've picked out is right here, where we don't have any support on the van wall. Now I'm planning on keeping the factory wall panel, which is really just a kind of a stiff cardboard type panel with a vinyl covering, and that was fine for mounting a speaker, but it's not going to be enough for supporting this table base. So what I've picked up is one of these wall insert panels from Impact Products. There'll be a link to this in the video description, so if you're interested in buying this, please use that link. I do get a small commission, but it doesn't cost you anything more when you use those links. So thanks for clicking those and supporting the channel. So what I'm going to be doing is cutting out on this panel where the speaker is going to go and where the mounting bracket for the Lagun table base is going to go. And then I'm also going to be throwing in a very important AC outlet that'll have some USB A and C charging, because that's going to be important for anyone working in this location at the table. So thanks for joining. I'm looking forward to showing you guys how to do this, and let's check it out. All right, so the first thing we're going to want to do is go ahead and get this panel attached to the wall. Once we've done that, we can kind of take a look at things and finalize exactly where we want to put the Lagun mounting bracket, where we want to put the speaker, and where we want to put the AC outlet. We'll mark those on the panel later, and then we'll go cut that. But first things first, let's get this up on the wall and make sure everything fits good. And to do that, we're going to need to get a drill and drill some holes. So these panels have countersunk holes, and Impact Products includes these nice stainless flathead screws that'll go in those holes. But I need to drill the holes in the metal, van wall sheet metal here, that those screws will go into behind this panel. So that's going to be step one. All right, so first thing we need to do is drill out the holes for this panel. And to do that, we're actually just going to hold the panel up, and then with a drill, go ahead and drill through these holes into the sheet metal. Now, a couple of tips: whenever you're drilling through the van walls, you don't want to poke through to the outside. So you always use a stop collar. Stop collar looks like this. A little collar that you can slide over the bit, and then there's a set screw that you can just take a little Allen key and tighten that set screw. And you want to make sure that the depth that's at is such that you won't poke through the outside of the van wall. Now for these holes, I'm going to use an 1/8 inch drill bit. Another thing, whenever you're drilling through the wall, it's going to generate some metal filings. So You want to put down some plastic just to catch any of that. And then you're going to want to get a little magnet like this. And what you can do is put this directly below where you're going to be drilling, and it'll catch most of the filings. Alright guys, we got the holes drilled for the wall panel, and I've gone ahead and put it up with the screws that were included just temporarily, because what we need to do next is figure out exactly where we want this Lagun table base mount to go before we do any permanent cuts into this PVC board. So I found a neat trick that I think will help us figure this out. Basically, just take your Lagun table base mount, screw it to a piece of wood. This piece of wood's about 1/2 inch thick, and go ahead and clamp it off to one side. Over here you can get a couple clamps on there, and that'll hold it up. You only have to put it in with maybe a couple of screws to evaluate this, and then we can move that up and down as well as left and right, because this board is about 2 feet long, so we can move this further this way or that way, up and down, and try it out with the tabletop and figure out where exactly we want it to be. Once we've done that, then we'll go ahead and mark where this is at, and then we'll be set to go cut it for everything else, like the speaker and the outlet. We can place those accordingly.
Put charge on this.
That's not too low, right?
No, it's good. It's just,
I mean,
it's
move
just
over
like,
to that position. Just be careful of
it's
the...
higher over here because it's sagging.
Oh yeah,
It's not
it
like-
is sagging. It'll be
I
more
know.
like that. And then,
No, it's good. It's
If
just
you
like I
needed
can't
to,
lift
like-
my knee up,
right.
which is kind of a bummer.
Okay.
Well, I don't need to lift my knee.
Well, I can raise it, so that's like when you're playing a game, you're gonna want it at this height, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Or maybe a little
But
higher.
when we're driving, I'm not gonna want it here.
Well,
I'll
no,
leave
I
it
can
on
take
my-
this out when we're driving.
Where are you gonna put it?
Just store it. So, I mean, that's also good for playing a game or eating, right?
Yeah, it needs to be a little higher if you want to eat.
A little higher.
Well, I'm saying this. It was lower than this. This is a good eating height.
Okay. And you can also
Bacon.
play a game at that height.
Yeah, this is a good height.
Okay. So outlet box up here, so it's easy to reach.
And then the cords can reach as well, because like
Yeah.
the charging cords aren't that long.
Okay, here's our final layout of where the bracket speaker and outlet box are going to go. Bracket was put here to make sure that the table could easily reach somebody or two people eating or playing a game or doing remote work, as well as still pivot over to the driver's seat for eating or working, and also still be able to raise the table up so that you could do a standing desk, you know, standing from like where this drill is. We put the outlet box up here so it's easy to reach when someone's in the seat. So they don't have to reach down to the corner or anything to plug something in or charge a device. Gotta keep those devices charged, right?
Yes, always. It works pretty nicely. I am, in fact, 5'7", so, you know, you can do your Zoom calls, your Zoom meetings, you know, all that good stuff.
Remote school.
Yes, sir.
That's the standing desk. Now we're gonna lower this. Okay, yeah, so that bumps in. So this has to be shimmed out because where it is now bumps into the metal when you try to lower it. So we do need to shim this bracket out down here because this bumps into the metal. Okay, we've got our layout here. So we're going to go ahead and mark out where we're going to put the outlet box. I'm just going to use a punch to mark these holes. Okay, I'm just going to show you a trick for doing the cutout tracing. So this Kicker PSC 65 has a 5" and 1/16 cutout for mounting that speaker. And if you don't have a compass would be the easiest way to do it. If you don't have a compass, you can just take a ruler and go ahead and measure from your center point to each side. So in my case, about 2.5 inches, just a tad bit more, and make a mark on both sides. Okay, and then do that 90 degrees off of that, and then just keep doing it. Do it at 45 each way. And then you can even do several others in between. Okay, and then when you're done, just kind of connect the dots. And when you get all the way around, you'll have a nice traced out circle like this. Okay, now I don't have a 5/16 hole saw. The largest I have is 3 5/8, but I'm going to use that to start, and then we can jigsaw out the rest. Alright, so for cutting this outlet box, we need to drill a starter hole for the jigsaw. Alright, so when doing AC wiring, you're going to want to use one of these blue boxes. They come in different sizes though. You want the distance between the Sprinter wall panels and the actual outside of the fan limits you to using a 14 cubic inch box. 20 cubic inch, and they even make bigger than that, are too deep, so you're going to want to get the 14 cubic inch. Okay, when planning to cut the stock panels, one of the things you need to do is locate where things on this filler panel are relative to the holes where the finished panel snaps into. If we know where these things are relative to that, then we can cut the stock finished panel in the right location. So to do that, so what I'm going to be doing is finding a reference from these two holes to these two screw locations. All right, so now with that in place, I can take some measurements. So I can now say that, well, actually it's easier to do just with a flat measure like this. So here, the center of the finished panel hole up to the line between the solid panel mounting it's about 1 7/8. It's also 1 7/8 between the finished panel snap hole to this straight line here. So that's pretty easy. And we'll measure over here. Over here, we're at 3 inches from the finished panel mounting hole to this straight line. And then this should also be 1 7/8. And it is. All right, so now that we know those, when we lay this out in the garage to cut it, we can place this panel relative to these holes, and then we can just trace out the things we need to cut. All right, so next we need to cut this wall panel. This is the factory wall panel. So in order to locate where these things are on the wall panel, back in the van, we went from the two wall panel mounting holes and measured to where the two screw holes are on this filler panel. And now we're just gonna relocate this on here so we can then trace out the cutouts and get it cut. I'm just putting new wall panel clips in. These take a little bit of effort to get in. You got to kind of line this up, get it in there at like 45 degrees, and then push down and rotate. Helps to have a glove on. All right, so we're ready to get the panel back on and get the table mounted onto the side panel here. This turned out to be a lot more tricky than I thought it would be. When I started this project, I thought it would be pretty quick and simple. It's definitely a little time consuming, so hopefully I can save you some time in your own efforts if you decide to do it this way. Probably the biggest thing that took me so much trial and error to get right is how to space the Lagun table mounting bracket so that the table doesn't rub against the side of the van here. And in my case, I also wanted to be able to rotate it when the table's down lower. So the solution I came up with finally is this PVC panel goes here, then we're gonna put the original trim piece back on over it with the cutouts, of course, for the speaker and outlet, as well as the holes. And then we're gonna take that little teak board that they give you with the Lagun table. I painted it gray to blend in, and that's gonna go on the outside of the panel before the mounting bracket. And I did some tests with that, and that allows it to clear here without rubbing, and even allows it to rotate when down further here. So this teak board is about a 1/16 short of a 1/2 inch. A 1/2 inch would have been ideal, but I really didn't feel like going and buying another type of material or something that was 1/2 inch and having to repaint it, spending more money. So I'm just going to go ahead and use this, and we'll show you what that looks like. All right, once you get the first front section of this panel snapped in, only snap into the trim snaps that are just beyond where the bracket's going to go. Leave the back open because we're going to need to reach in and access that to tighten the nuts on the back side. All right, next step, get your painted teak board. Go ahead and the bolts. Now the Lagun table came with 2-inch M8s. I ended up purchasing 2 1/4 stainless steel M8s. That's what's needed to get through the mounting bracket, the teak board, the sprinter trim, and the PVC fill panel. If you go with 2-inch, you're not going to have enough to get that nylock nut on there. So I had to spend a few dollars at the hardware store to get that. All right, so now that we got those in, now we're ready to get the nylock nuts on the back side. That's the tricky part. Can be done. Let's take it slow, one at a time. So take a washer, bend the board back, reach back in there. Let's start with the upper right one. Washer on. Then just take a nylock nut and thread it on by hand. stubborn for some reason. There we go. Just thread it on by hand until it stops, and then just go ahead and put the washers and nuts on by hand for all the others. So now we're going to go back through with the socket wrench, 13 millimeter on the back side. You want to set it for reverse so that when I screw this from the front, it will tighten. And we just tighten each of these four. Now you know you're done tightening when the washer on the back is not loose and spinning around. So in my case, this washer is still spinning, so I gotta get back in there and tighten it. Alright, just want to show you guys why you need that 1/2 inch teak board on the outside. So this is why, because even with the stock panel, you need to make sure that this rotation here will clear the metal, which I think is really important. Now you still can't go that way, but when you're down that low, but that's just a consequence of mounting the table against a wall. But this is the direction we want to go anyway for people that are sitting in the passenger seat that want to bring the table closer. Not so worried about the front seat because that can move forward up to the table, as can the rear passenger seat, but it's a little more convenient to be able to pivot this back. And there's the final product. So the 1/2 inch board and then the mounting bracket. Alright guys, that concludes this video on how to install a Lagun table in a Sprinter van. I'll give you a quick tour of the finished product. I'm really stoked about it. It looks great. The function is great. It wasn't as easy as I thought it would be, but it was well worth the effort. So I highly recommend it. And thanks again for watching. If you like this video, hit the like button, subscribe to our channel. There'll be more great DIY videos coming soon. Thanks, and most importantly, have fun out there. All right, this to show you with that 1/2-inch teak wood board that is supplied. There is barely any clearance between that bracket and the rib Altair seat bed. Probably about 1/16 of an inch. That's why I thought if you don't like this teak wood board and you want to go with something else like PVC, you could probably get away with a 1/2 inch. Again, it's just going to depend exactly where your seat is bolted, but in my case, that's really close. Probably don't want it any closer. The edges on this, you don't want them catching that leather. Definitely rip it. So you got to be careful with that. Now, one of the cool features on these Lagun tables are these handles. For tightening and loosening these joints here, they have this feature where when you run out of room, you just pull out and then you can rotate back, let it go, and then you can tighten again, like that. So that's actually loosening it. But if I was going the other way and tightening it, go clockwise, I'm out of room, so I pull out, and I go down, let go, and then I tighten some more.